working at Magna Centers for Obesity, Diabetes and Endocrinology in Hyderabad. It's based out of Filmnagar. So let's be very frank, I have not prepared any speech, I have not rehearsed anything, I just come directly and I'm sitting in front of you guys to explain what I do, tell my patients day in and day out about thyroid. So whenever a patient walks into my room, there are a lot of misconceptions about thyroid and its related problems. So let's start with the basics. Now, what is thyroid? So thyroid is a gland in the neck. Thyroid is a gland in the neck and it's present in everybody. So when patients come and say, I have thyroid, it actually makes no sense because everybody has a thyroid. So thyroid is a gland, it's present in the neck, and the function of this thyroid gland is to produce something called as thyroid hormones. The thyroid hormones, it controls the metabolism or the speed of the body, for example, of all the organs of the body, which includes the nervous system, the skin system, the heart, the circulatory system, the excretory system, and most important of all, the reproductive system. In 10% of normal women, we are talking about 10% of normal women and around 1 to 2% of normal men, this thyroid gland won't function properly. That means it functions at a slightly lower level. Now, is this of major concern? No, I will not, because I'll explain to you why it's not of major concern. So the thyroid gland not functioning properly is seen in almost 10% of normal women and around 1 to 2% of normal men. So we are not dealing with something that's like very, very rare condition and a very untreatable condition. What do these 10% normal women need to do? Now let's remember, when we were a child, when we were around 6 months of age, our parents started giving us rice or chapatis because carbohydrates are not produced in adequate amounts in our body. Our parents started giving us dal, they started giving us some other forms of protein, for example, non-vegetarian food, because proteins are not produced in our body. Similarly, we drink milk daily or any milk products for calcium. We take some form of oil or butter so that some amount of fat is there in our diet. Now, by analogy or by corollary, 10% of normal women, when they develop hypothyroidism, they need to take thyroid from the environment into the body. So this is not some medication, for God's sake. So thyroid tablets that are prescribed don't come under the category of medication. They come under the category of food and supplementation. So if you have a person in your family or you or yourself have hypothyroidism, please remember one thing, that hypothyroidism is not a disease. It comes under the category of a nutrient deficiency or a hormone deficiency. And the treatment is as simple as taking as rice, roti, dal, or any other form of proteins or any other food item, for example. You're also taking another food item, that is thyroid. Patients often ask me another thing, are there not any natural supplements for this thyroid? Initially, like quite before, like around 30-35 years, the thyroid tablet itself was not there. People used to use something called as desiccated thyroid extract. That means they used to extract the thyroid from different animals and different sources, and then they used to make it into a thyroid supplement and then give the people who are having hypothyroidism. That's no longer necessary because this thyroid supplement is now being made commercially and it's available in the form of tablets. Now, why does it need to be in the form of tablets? Why can't it be in the form of, say, a biscuit or something else like that? Because the dosage requirement for an individual person keeps changing throughout his or her life. And this is especially true in a lady who's going to plan pregnancy. And that's what I'm going to come here mainly to talk about. Now, in pregnancy, especially for the first 12 to 14 weeks, the baby itself has no thyroid. The baby is dependent on the mother for any thyroid supplement that it requires. If the mother is having hypothyroidism, obviously the requirement for any thyroid supplementation is going to increase during pregnancy. So this is not something to be worried about. Thyroid and infertility is going to be covered by another colleague of mine sooner. So I'm not going to talk about that. I'm only going to talk about mainly those people who have hypothyroidism and they have entered into pregnancy, or those people who are pregnant and are diagnosed for the first time with hypothyroidism. So when thyroid deficiency exists in pregnancy, we must realize that just like how we are going to give extra carbohydrates, extra proteins, extra fats during delivery, during pregnancy, extra calcium, how we are going to give extra iron, we have to give extra thyroid also, because the requirement has now increased, because one, the baby is dependent on the mother for thyroid supplementation. There's another thing that occurs in pregnancy. There is a new part of the body that's created, that's called as the placenta, that serves as a barrier between the mother and the baby. The placenta has something called as deiodinases, which helps in breaking down the thyroid even faster. So a normal person with hypothyroidism will end up requiring more thyroid supplementation during pregnancy because of the increased demand, and also because of the increased breakdown of this thyroid. So what is the thumb rule? Now suppose you already have hypothyroidism and you're taking one particular dose of thyroid supplementation. So please remember, I'm using the word supplementation, not medication. You're using one particular dose of thyroid supplementation and your urine pregnancy test comes positive. Then what do? The first thing that you yourself can do is to increase the dose by around 25 to 30%. And how do you do that before even reaching the doctor? Whatever dose you're taking it, you have to take 2 extra tablets during the week. For example, if you're taking 50 micrograms of thyroid supplementation every day, you will have to add another 50 on two days. That means 50 micrograms for Monday to Friday, and on Saturday, Sunday, you can actually go ahead and take 100 micrograms. That is 2 tablets on Saturday and Sunday. The next thing you should possibly do is get a TSH done and meet the treating physician or the endocrinologist or even the gynecologist. They will be in a better position to determine whether the dose that you are taking in pregnancy is enough for you or no. What if you're diagnosed for the first time with hypothyroidism during pregnancy? What do? Do you panic? No. Just take the appointment with the doctor, preferably an endocrinologist or even a nearby physician or a gynecologist, and meet them. The first thing that comes into the mind of any mother who is diagnosed with hypothyroidism for the first time in the first trimester of pregnancy, they come inside and ask us one question only: what will happen to the brain development of my baby? Now let's be very frank. So most of the cases of missed hypothyroidism who are diagnosed for the first time, they have something called as subclinical hypothyroidism. That means their T3, T4 are normal, but the TSH is slightly elevated. TSH is slightly elevated. It's between the range of 5 to 10. Okay, before I go ahead in this particular topic, let me try to explain the relation between TSH and thyroid hormone. So here I'm telling TSH is elevated and you are having hypothyroidism. How is that possible? So TSH, or thyroid stimulating hormone, is actually being produced by the pituitary gland. The TSH comes and stimulates the thyroid if it is not working properly. That means it tries to tell the thyroid, why don't you work properly? Why don't you work properly? You know, the TSH is going up, means the thyroid is working lesser. So in pregnancy, when you are told to have subclinical hypothyroidism, that means the TSH has gone up, but it has managed to somehow compensate and keep the T3 and T4 normal. That is subclinical hypothyroidism. And by definition, any TSH of less than 10 is called as subclinical hypothyroidism. So if you are pregnant and you have a TSH between 2.5 to 10 and you have come to the doctor is going to explain to you very clearly that a TSH of between 2.5 and 10 is not substantially going to affect any aspect of the nervous development of the baby. There is nothing to substantiate that the intelligence of the baby is going to be affected by the TSH of less than 10. So don't worry. The only problem with subclinical hypothyroidism is there is a statistically slightly increased risk of miscarriages, intrauterine growth retardation, that means the babies are not growing properly in the uterus, and preterm delivery before 40 weeks. So the subclinical hypothyroidism needs to be treated as soon as it is diagnosed without worrying about what is going to happen, what's going to happen to the baby's intelligence development and other things. That's all far-fetched things. As soon as it is diagnosed, you come to the doctor. Depending upon your body weight and your TSH levels, he or she is going to initiate you on some sort of thyroid replacement therapy. Not to worry about the baby's brain development if the TSH is less than 10. Now what if the TSH is very high? TSH is very high and T3, T4 are very low. So we have seen patients who are diagnosed for the first time with hypothyroidism in pregnancy with the TSH of say 25, 30 and T3, T4 is very low. they have entered into pregnancy. Again, if you have to go into statistics, I'm telling you statistics, the effect of severe hypothyroidism on the brain development of the child is still minimal only. Very few of them are actually going to go ahead and develop some problem related to the nervous system. The thing that has been substantiated well is a drop in the IQ of the child by 7 to 10 points. 7 points, that is the statistic that's been. If the IQ drops by 7 points in a child, especially a child who is born after repeated attempts, it's a precious pregnancy, IUI has gone on, IVF has gone off, really doesn't matter because most children are now born with an IQ of 120. So I will not use the brain development of the baby as a criteria for deciding to continue the pregnancy or not. So the TSH is high and the T3 and T4 are low. We are talking about a statistically slightly increased risk of low IQ in the child, which needs to be discussed with the mother. So if it's not a very precious pregnancy, it's just marriage and a very young couple, we might decide about continuing pregnancy or not. But the older the lady, and especially if it's IUI and IVF, we decide not to use this as a criteria to decide whether pregnancy will be continued or not. The problems that still exist with a very high TSH is in fact miscarriage or a low growth rate in a child, increased blood pressure in the mother, early deliveries and increased bleeding during delivery. So whenever it is detected, it has to be treated. So we cannot leave it untreated, obviously. We have to treat it as soon as it is detected. But discussing regarding termination of pregnancy and all, I think that has to be individualized to the doctor and the presenting person. So it cannot, there is no general rule that even if the TSH is extremely high, you should not continue pregnancy. Not at all. It's all a play of a small statistic about the brain development of the child. Now, once the thyroid supplementation has been initiated, how often do you check with the doctor? The TSH in pregnancy, especially in the first 30 weeks of pregnancy, has to be done every 4 weeks. Why it has to be done every 4 weeks? Because the treatment is now shifted from the parent to the parent plus child. So we are two people we are treating here, and the requirements of thyroid supplementations are very dynamic in pregnancy. They usually go down for some time, then again they start increasing after some time. So every 4 weeks, get a TSH and meet the doctor, especially in the first 30 weeks. Between 30 to 40, you might decide to visit the doctor only once because it's not going to fluctuate much. I want to stress on the point again what I have been telling from that time. Thyroid in pregnancy is not as dangerous as it is portrayed to be by anyone. Thyroid deficiency requires thyroid supplementation timely, that's all. And if thyroid supplements are gone for the mother and the child, there's going to be no problem for either the mother or the child. Immediately after delivery, the thyroid requirements will again drop. Immediately after delivery, because now we are treating only the mother and not mother and child. So the TSH will go down after delivery and the thyroid requirements will drop. And there is a certain protocol. After delivery also, we need to see the mother at least once in 6 months or once in 6 weeks to once in 2 months, because the TSH tends to go down for some time, then go up and then again come down. So we need to follow up the mother at least till the baby is around 8 to 9 months old. And after 9 months, we are expecting the TSH to stabilize. And then we will be treating as any other adult who's having hypothyroidism. We'll be calling the mother only once in 4 months to 6 months and checking the TSH and then deciding what we should be doing. So again, for the third time today, I'm repeating, thyroid is not a disease, it is a deficiency. And just as we are supplementing more of iron and more of calcium and more of proteins in pregnancy, the requirement for thyroid increases during pregnancy. And almost 10% of the normal women will require thyroid supplements during pregnancy, whether they had pre-existing hypothyroidism or not. So the take-home message that I want to give very clearly today is, don't attach too much of tension to the hypothyroidism. You have to meet the doctor regularly and ensure that the mother and the baby are getting enough thyroid supplementation to keep both of them happy. End result is, mother is happy, father is happy, the child is born healthy, but obviously the doctor is also very happy. That's all. Thanks.